If you travel around the Pacific island nation of Tonga and ask people about the weather, you'll start to notice a pattern. From this teacher on the island of Ewe to Tony, a local tour guide.
I notice fruits and flowers coming when they shouldn't be.
To Daniel Prakash, who helped show us around.
Now it rains all over time, flooding, and changing temperature.
You hear it a lot around Tonga. The weather is changing, and so is the ocean, and so are the plants. And while many Tongans aren't sure what's causing it, some here are quite certain of what's going on.
I think I probably can sum it up and say everything's not the same anymore because of climate change.
Awareness of climate change has been slow to arrive in the Kingdom of Tonga, a chain of 176 tiny islands in the South Pacific. Tonga, which means south, is an isolated place. Home to about 120,000 people. It's never been colonized. It's not on most tourist maps. And it's still ruled by a king and noble class, although the new king, George Tupu V, has promised to change that soon. So as a more modern form of government arrives here, so too does an increasing awareness that the climate just doesn't quite seem to be the same.
The problem is they can see what's happening, but they don't know why it's happening.
Talo Fulivai works for Tonga's Environment Ministry, which has launched a campaign to spread awareness about the concept of climate change. But in a country where many still live in isolated tribal communities, it's not necessarily a simple task.
The scientific language of climate change and climate-related impacts, translating it into a common language that villagers can understand, it's one of the hardest issues, not just here in Tonga, but throughout the region.
But one thing everyone here in Tonga does understand is what it means to live with a close connection to nature. This is a culture of subsistence living, where people rely on nature's abundance to provide. Living with the elements is just part of life, says Taki Hausia, who runs a hotel on Ewe, Tonga's southernmost island.
A lot of people say, oh, you must be so lucky you live in paradise, you know. But it's not all what people think it is. There's a price you pay by living in paradise.
That price he's talking about are the cyclones, earthquakes, and ocean swells that wreak havoc on everything around here. It's nothing new, but many people say the bad weather and beach erosion seem to be getting worse. There's no scientific data yet to tell for sure what's happening. But many people told us they fear that climate change is causing it, and if it makes things even worse, they may be in for more than they've bargained for.
But before the sea can come and reach the area over there.
Monteveti Liuki is a farmer in Hapai, Tonga's central and most vulnerable island group. Hapai is made up of mostly low-lying coral islands. Beach erosion here is bad and getting worse. You see it everywhere. Man-made heaps of coral act as a barrier to keep the main road from falling into the sea. Tree roots left bare by beaches that have disappeared. Chunks of land falling into the water near the main port. Liuki showed us how the tide is eating away at the beach here in front of his cousin's house. He's trying to hold back the sea by building a wall out of old flour bags filled with sand. The bags break easily, but they're all he can get his hands on, so he just keeps shoveling. A few miles further down the road, David Kalepi has lived with his family on the edge of the ocean for the last decade. But now, Kalepi told us, he is scared of the sea.
In the last 10 years, the sea level has risen so much that the high tides now lap up against the base of his house. He's going to have to move soon with his family further inland as part of a government relocation project.
This is where Kalepi and his family will be moving, a still empty lot a few hundred yards inland. Like many projects in Tonga, progress is inching along, but there may not be much time left. While there aren't many families yet like the Kalepis, some studies have predicted that sea levels may rise by more than 6 feet by the end of the century. And that could spell trouble for Tonga, which is already struggling to keep up its existing projects to hold back the sea.
It has disappeared.
Back in Ewe, Taki showed us this boulder wall that is supposed to protect the port. But he says that several times a year, increasingly frequent cyclones shatter the wall, toss the boulders into the port, and shut down ferry service for weeks. Bulldozers must then put all the rocks back again.
I think it sort of gives you the indication of probably the type of funding that Tonga has. They haven't got money to actually fix things for once and forever. It's you're sort of repairing all the time.
Still, the government is trying, and while seawalls may help hold back the rising tide, they certainly won't stop climate change. For that, Tonga is at the mercy of the world's biggest greenhouse gas emitters, who have so far failed to come up with a binding international treaty that Tonga and other small islands say is needed to save their countries. For its part, the Tongan government has announced an ambitious plan to produce 50% of its electricity from renewable resources by 2012. So it could end up that Tonga teaches the rest of the world a thing or two about thinking big and acting fast when it comes to the environment. For World Focus, I'm Megan Thompson in the Kingdom of Tonga.